I'm delighted to introduce Jayen Desai from VMware. Jayen is the Director of Strategy and Operations and sits on VMware's India leadership team. He has over 30 years of global leadership experience across consulting, engineering, and technology organizations, taking them from both inception stage to best-in-class maturity levels. He's worked in areas of product development, product and process optimization, time to market, and expanding in new geographies and regions. Welcome, Jayen. We're so excited to hear from you.
Thank you, Samira and the WorkBoard team. All right, good morning to folks in India and good evening, good afternoon for the rest of the world. It's indeed a pleasure and a privilege to represent VM in India team for this event. And firstly, congratulations to the WorkBoard team to pull in the first ever India event, and this being the first, many more to go. So congratulations. And truly the partnership between VMware and WorkBoard is relatively new, but worth acknowledging because it's going in the right direction. And hopefully for the audience spending time today and the organizations you represent, hopefully the time spent here leaves you with some insights, thoughts, and call to action. So in the next 25-30 minutes, I'll go through the journey we took up in VMware India to formulate, engage, execute, measure, and review the entire journey of strategy to execution. And it segues very well from where Deidre left off. I think she touched the right areas and some very good insights around what not to do as well. In the next 10 to 15 minutes thereafter, would love to take questions, interact, because end of the day, we all are here to learn. Reason to share this journey and thank WorkBoard to invite us are based on two primary reasons. One is based on experiences from peer companies and the collective professional journey some of us in the India leadership team had gone through. We truly experimented for the first time driving the strategy formulation, both top-down and bottoms up, and what Deidre referred to as lateral. Some very interesting insights, and we will talk about it. The second is a very important learning I think all of us have been trying to get over. And to be more candid here is how to break the organizational functional silos. And the more compelling need, and something which struck the chord with me today morning when Reddy talked about the three forces. It would be a surprise to me and to all of us if none of us are facing all or some of the headwinds today in the industries and domains we operate, both at an individual level and at an organization level. So how do we break the silos, collaborate, and amplify returns is a topic being talked about for more than a decade with no clear recipe and solution, which is global. So these were the two primary reasons we thought of sharing our journey. And believe me, I'm just a representative of the entire VMware team here. So to frame the context, it is important to know the organization reference for this case study being discussed. So let me first start with introducing VMware. Some of you may be already our customers, but for those to know about VMware, we are one of the leading multi-cloud service provider today in the center of digital transformation. And being in the forefront of technology innovation, we have been a foundation for most of the global organizations, including in India, as a trustworthy partner on their digital journey. And for some of the stats which you see here, you can gauge that we are a large organization spread across 11 global regions. India far by is one of those 11 and is the largest site for the organization, both in terms of the number of functions represented and the employee base, which makes this case study a little bit more interesting for all of you probably. So the journey we are discussing today is within the constraints or the boundaries of VMware India, which is today represented across the 5 major cities in India, close to 10,000 plus employees, and is managed through what we call a leadership council, the India leadership team, which is a set of leaders picked from the large functions within the India org: sales, R&D, CDTO, business operations, legal, HR. So it's a cross-functional body. Whenever I refer to leadership team, I would refer to this cross-functional leaders through my case study. So I think from where we left off on what are the ingredients of a clear and aligned strategy, clearly it helps organization maturity in terms of growth. You could measure growth by top line. You could measure growth by internal effectiveness and efficiencies. But operational efficiencies and employee engagement have been center stage or in the top priority for most of the organization. So the idea is, how can we learn today, adopt some of this, and more than happy that we can even follow up later for more in-depth analysis and experience exchange, because today the time allotted will not give justice. So I don't think there's any disagreement probably in this audience on the accelerators as called out by WorkBoard. These are the ingredients of a good strategy by far, right? I don't think there should be any disconnect on this. But let's do a reality check, right? 70% of strategies industry fail, and this is not something new. At least for the 3 to 3.5 decades, I have been personally involved across last 3 organizations of repute and size. This is a challenge, and exchanging notes with the rest of the industry, it's no different. If we peel this layer further, candid confession, public, private admission, 14% of the CEOs of this large corporations feel that they did not do well on execution. That is compelling. And if you further drill down on the inefficiencies of that or lack of good performance and take that 30-40% and try to dissect that, clearly it is around improper and inadequate resource planning. Today, no project manager will tell you that I am well equipped. I am happy. Milestones will be achieved, projects will be executed, top line, bottom line targets will be met. Strange, right? And this is about 3 to 4 decades of practicing the body of knowledge around project management. Lack of structured communication, and the root cause here is, do we even know the different stakeholders' personas to target communication accordingly? And this is across the value chain, from strategy design, formulation, execution, review, and feedback. That's the second area of concern. Third, though we don't claim it, we expect that we have it. We clearly do not have a project management center of excellence set up. We collect a bunch of project managers, train them, certify them, or hire them, put them in a group and call it a program management office. Have we invested in the right areas for the right talent? Third, differing accountability across levels. You can see pockets of people totally bought into your strategy, pockets who say verbally that they don't believe and it needs a change. And then there are the silent spectators. You will find this Pareto across industry, across domains. And that's where the differing accountability comes in. And lastly, and it's a reflection to all of the leaders here today and beyond, when we globalize, when we take our organizations global, are we truly leveraging complementary skills, or are we creating internal competition for growth? This is a subject in itself and would love to discuss this in some different forum, but are we truly globalized as an organization, or are we a global company with having regional locations? There is a huge difference. And it's a topic of my research over the last 20 years, but some other time. Quoting from an expert, you all from the Sean Conway of the Franklin Academy, candidly, he says, right, that we spend too much time formulating and aligning strategy, and over time we lose steam or diminishing interest to invest around execution excellence. I think all of us should step back and reflect. Are we front loading too much, or are we balancing our talent, resource management, planning across the entire value chain from strategy to execution? So we even fail to recognize, as I touched upon earlier, is our best talent in the center of excellence for project management, or the high pots are in the strategy group and project management is left to another function? And I'll touch upon it in my next comment. Time to check in the org structure who heads strategy and who heads execution. And if you are fortunate enough that it is in the same person or the same function, time to check, is it at the right level to drive change and influence the organization? Our research shows that this can be variety of permutations and combination. So leave you with this thought, just look into this. But this is one of the reasons why some of the data earlier makes sense. Next, I would suggest, and this is something we did as an organization, is something what I call as the strategy stress test. It's a very clear way to understand as you design and formulate and share your strategy, starting with, have you identified people in powers? And when I say power, is people with decision-making authority in your organization. Have they signed up, or have you approached them to be executive sponsors? I think we don't do a good job here. We also learned at VMware to do this well. We stumbled, we learned, and we recovered. So something I'm sharing today was not perfect day one. So I don't want to leave anybody with that thoughts. But one thing is, an executive sponsor is not going to sign up because it needs credibility. You need past performance as a remote center, as a remote regional site. You need trust to be built over years to make them sign up as a sponsor. One caution, don't reach out to all powerful leaders and make them executive sponsors, but try to ask a simple question. If the strategy succeeds, will it help that leader in his role, in his or her role, sorry. That person is the right person to be your executive sponsor. And don't be shy to ask within the organization the right questions at the right time. So this is something we learned. And thanks to my mentor, my boss, my manager, who was also incidentally the country head for India. First 3 months I joined VMware, I didn't do anything. 3 months I was just talking to people across the organization. So just a test. Second is formulate your strategy. Try to build linkages. I think we heard about it in the previous presentation. Look at how it impacts with measurement. Do that map. Identify your stakeholders, and this could be both internal and external. One learning, lessons learned from our own journey. It's quite difficult. We did not do a comprehensive job in year one, but we learned. we improved, and we perfected this. But this is something very, very critical, which we had missed in the first year. Next would be to look at taking a model, taking a framework, and trying to fit it within your organization culture and context. Big mistake. I am not averse to consultants. I have been in my career 10 plus years as a consultant. So no offense for those on the audience listening to me, but identify the right consultant, identify the right people to head strategy within your organization, because the team you set up, they have to work by influence. And we will talk about our journey in a minute. But one of the most beautiful discovery in the VMware India journey was we did not look at titles when identifying core team members. It was literally open nomination to anybody who wanted to participate. There were only 2 qualifications required. Do you have the competency and a differentiating skill to be on the core team you are assigned? And do you carry the passion to come and contribute? No approvals required, no manager reflections, no hierarchical process to get signed up to be part of the strategy journey. Beautiful experience. Next would be setting up your program office. I would call it should be clearly a center of excellence, because the attributes required to get cross-functional teams aligned for collective success is a team effort. You need the right people with the right mindset, and I talked about competencies earlier. Get your high pots into this group because it's an investment. Set up the measurement system, which is well-respected, unbiased, and transparent. 2 of the 3 decades I have been in the industry, MBRs, quarterly reviews, and I think we touched upon it in the previous presentation, not reams and reams of PowerPoint slides, but 60%, and no offense here, 60% of the time is spent in executive reviews, debating on the authenticity of the data source, and who collected the data versus discussing action plan, strategy, and next steps. If anybody disagrees, would love to interact later in the Q&A, but this is a fact. So set up a measurement system, which is not a traffic light scorecard showing all green. And don't please make the mistake to tag this as a people performance, because you will fail. This is a team performance, organization performance. Don't try to map this to individual performance management. You will take a step back because people will set up OKRs which are manageable, achievable, and you are not going to move the needle. So this is a simple story, a stress test we adopted, and we clearly kept 3 years to make an impact. So if somebody believes this is too long, yes, we wanted to do it right. So year 1, we spent in defining and aligning the strategy. Year 2, we started the OKR journey, mapping, linking, identifying the right stakeholders and learning from mistakes. And year 3, which is next year for us, we intend to make a global impact. Yeah. With that said, quoting Marshall Goldsmith, one of my favorites, what got you here will not get you there. And looking at our North Star, we within the VMware India team, Jan 2020, we took a deep look at some of our challenges. And don't get me wrong, right? We have been successful. For those who have been tracking VMware in India, double-digit headcount growth, some of the most reputed organizations as customers, an industry leader in some of the employee engagement and diversity practices. Everything was going great. But like any growing organization, right? Growth and maturity needs reflections. And we precisely took that hard look to understand what were the challenges we need to cope up with to take us to the next level of maturity. And clearly, in total confession, right, we clearly had work to do, starting with brand recognition, right? We started off as a tech leader in the virtualization space, if some of you already know us. We revolutionized the IT environment. We then went into wave 2 of virtualizing the data center, taking the benefits of public cloud on-prem. Industry knew us for that. But as we are in the current phase, which is multi-cloud, we had to shift both as an organization, which is a huge transformation we are going through, and this is all in public domain. And we had to even change the internal culture and mindset for the 25,000 employees globally we have to start thinking in this direction. And we need to invest in building that brand, both in globally as well as in India. So that was clearly one opportunity. The growth, the silo mindset, I touched upon it earlier. We were no different. We were growing double digit, business as usual. We had to achieve targets. Teams were not having that platform to collaborate and work cross-functionally. And that was an area we wanted to look into and invest. Basically, the collaboration blueprint. Third, based on our size, stature, technology, innovativeness, we had not invested enough in the India ecosystem. I'll talk about in the results and outcomes what we did, but our engagement with government bodies, academia, startups, ISVs were just scratching the surface. We could do more. And then last but not the least, why we are in this event is driving the outcome-oriented mindset, focusing on impact versus activity, focusing on value realization versus effort. So this was a clear wake-up call for future, for good. It was not a gap, nothing was stopping, business was growing. But as I said, it was a time to do that, and we did this exactly 18 months back. So what did we learn? So year 1 of strategy deployment through the 360 feedback, which was something I would recommend each one of the organization represented here. Be open, be transparent, and be inclusive. Some of the best feedback on how your strategy is doing is from the rank and files. Don't try to deploy strategy or execution sitting in glass cabins. I know it's a metaphor, but I really mean it that typically the top-down strategy will not work with the changing paradigms of the industry. Sometimes we don't even contest why that information or data will not be available. Break those barriers, question. And this is something we learned, we mastered. We started asking the right questions. The key changes, and this could be of interest, we learned that we needed a transparent engagement framework with clear roles, responsibility, because one thing to note, none of the core teams involved in the strategy process we are discussing today, this was a full-time job. We experimented for the first time for employees with existing roles within their functions to stretch and participate in the site strategy. So we got them included. We designed and deployed a phase-gate approach on project prioritization, tried to map resource management to it, tried to tag resource competency to it. And this was done very, very systematically, and I'll touch upon this. We went overboard on our execution excellence here, but for a reason. And last but not the least, one of the biggest change this year we did was with engaging with the WorkBoard team. The entire 300 plus team members in VMware involved on the site strategy got into workshops to define, for the first time in organization history, a complete top-down, bottoms-up, and lateral OKR definition process. So our entire strategy framework, including execution, measurement, review, executive reviews, everything we touched upon in the previous presentation, within 3 months, I was told by WorkBoard team that it takes a couple of years to get to where we are. The team here has done it in 3 months. Something really, really proud. And if they are on the call today, really would like to appreciate that. Talking about impact. So each of those challenges we took on. We created the first blueprint for cross-functional collaboration. 300 employees across functions started to participate in what we call the strategy core team. Part of the prioritization and OKR, we involved the entire team and the extended organization to give line of sight to individuals and teams on their contribution to impact. This was a big change, very, very important change, I would say. Third was the mindset change. Across the strategy pillars, process, 16 programs, 60 plus projects cutting across, we had end-to-end definitions and tracking of OKRs. We talk about partnerships. Earlier, I said we were scratching the surface on partnership. Guess what? In 18 months, we today have some of the most known flagship programs for the industry around diversity inclusion. Some of you may know about them. Our startup program is again very unique, where we have a joint go-to-market approach with equal might with the startups, unheard of in the India's ecosystem. And the latest journey we are embarking with Intel is set up the first sustainability ecosystem, which will have memberships from across the industry to make an impact. So just wanted to give you a reflection, 18 months point X to point Y on this journey, right? And last but not the least, there are 2 areas which again is a food for thought. Most of our rewards and recognition systems are driven vertically. They are designed for merits, recognition within the functional levels and chain of command. We experimented and invested in the first ever cross-function collaboration rewards and recognition program, focusing on values, proactivity, commitment, execution, impact. And this was required because, as I said, we wanted to make that change when nobody is full-time involved in strategy execution. None. All the 300 people have their day jobs. So this was the first for VMware. And I just wanted to leave that as a best practice today. And on the value realization, right? Beyond definition, beyond putting the structure, we could achieve in just year 1, 75% execution to plan. A first for us, at least, to be honest. For the kind of complexity of the projects, experimenting with cross-functional team members, not full-time, setting up things for the first time, including the strategy process, execution, measurement, and management review structure. We went to about 10% of the project scaling globally, 60% into deep execution, and we created a pipeline for year 2 from ideation to growth. And this was over the 18 months of the journey so far. Yeah. So hope that is inspiring in terms of what this team has done. Credit to the team here and the WorkBoard team who has been fantastic in terms of collaboration. Our entire journey we are talking about, from strategy linkages, definition, reviews, project management, project, weekly, monthly, quarterly reviews, executive reviews, one-on-ones, everything is integrated and it has been done in 3 months. So we retired 2 or 4 to 5 different IT solutions to give one pane of view. And because we felt investing here will give us dividends over the years. So it was a measured investment. Not easy. We trained the entire organization involved in WorkBoard, in using this, changing the mindset, and still executing without dropping a beat. So we didn't do sequential, we did it in parallel, which is something interesting here. To sum up the learnings, and this is some few takeaways for the team here. Two-way strategy really works. We tried out for a relatively large organization as us and went against the proven path. Involve the teams right through the process. Strategy is not restricted to glass walls. And you will be amazed at what can be done. Over-invest in governance, process, and reviews to organize and drive execution excellence. From where we started off with industry data in my presentation, shift the needle to 30% effort in strategy formulation and 70% in execution and excellence. It will pay off at some time. And involve entire team through the reviews because they will own the impact. Whatever I'm presenting today is a team effort. And if they're listening, they will own it. And that's the difference. This is not a leadership game anymore, right? And last, to sum up, few takeaways from our journey, if it makes sense. Leadership and stakeholder commitment. Define and link to map the right set of stakeholders. Collaboration and execution excellence. Use the power of complementary skills and invest in a structured collaboration process with the right best-in-class program management office. I'm overemphasizing this because of the lessons learned over the past. And impact measurement, drive a very transparent linked OKR process with systematic reviews, especially if you are working like a regional site with a typical metrics organization structure. You need something to motivate, inspire, and rewards the team, right? It's not easy. You are going against the tide because your organization processes, structures are not set up for that. And we tried. And leave it to the audience judgment. We have been reasonably successful. So that's why we wanted to share this. Thanks for the time. And feel free to interact later on that email ID. So, and that's about me if you want to connect.